Protests are erupting around the world in response to the bombing of a Gaza hospital that left hundreds of innocent people dead. We're going to take a look at the latest on the bombing. We're going to see the Islamic uprising that's engulfing the world. And make sure to stick with me to the very end of this video when I'll reveal what it all means for a rapidly changing world order happening right before our very eyes. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. It is I, Dr. Steve, your Patriot professor, here to help you to try to make some sense of this crazy and turbulent world we're living in. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. We've got a major escalation happening in the Israeli-Hamas war. The last remaining Christian hospital in Gaza was bombed last night, killing hundreds of innocent civilians. Hamas has blamed the explosion on a missile attack from Israel, while Israeli Defense Forces are blaming a failed rocket launch by the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, another militant group aligned with Hamas. Both sides, of course, are adamantly distancing themselves from the humanitarian horror in the wake of that attack, but it appears that the geopolitical realignments are already taking shape regardless of who actually did it. For his part, President Biden visited Israel to try to bring some characteristic clarity to the issue.
You know, years ago, I asked the Secretary of State when he and I were working in the Senate to write something for him, and said, he wrote a line that I think is appropriate. He said, it's not, we need, not just, well, I won't go into it, I'll wait later, taking too much time, but the point is this, that I was deeply saddened and outraged by the explosion at the hospital in Gaza yesterday. And based on what I've seen, it appears as though it was done by the other team, not you.
Do you get the feeling that the world is unraveling on par with Biden's physical and mental degeneration? I mean, we're experiencing a major worldwide geopolitical clash, and that's all this stuttering shell of a man can mutter? I mean, it's beyond embarrassing. But as you can see, as far as the Biden administration is concerned, the hospital's bombing was the fault of what he called, quote, the other team. Yes, he used a sports metaphor in the midst of this geopolitical calamity. Obviously, the Islamic world is under no such pretense. In fact, in many respects, the bombing of the Gaza hospital most likely was the straw that broke the proverbial camel's back with regard to any possible rapprochement between Israel and the Islamic world, like we were seeing with Saudi Arabia. In the nation of Jordan, thousands stormed the Israeli embassy in Amman in protest against what they believe to be a blatant Israeli war crime against innocent Palestinians. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan issued a blistering condemnation, stating, quote, the attack on the hospital where women, children, and innocent civilians are treated is the latest example of Israeli attacks that lack the most basic human values. I call on all humanity to take action to stop this unprecedented brutality in Gaza. If not, we will. And in the nation of Iran, a black flag of national mourning was raised above the sacred site of the Imam Reza Shrine in a show of national solidarity with the Palestinian people and an explicit condemnation of Israel. So what's really happening here around the world? How is this conflict between Israel and Hamas politically restructuring the globe? Well, we're going to answer precisely that. But first, gang, you do need to click on that link below and learn how to stick it to the establishment by using their own corruption against them. And you know exactly what I'm talking about here. Companies like BlackRock, they've been bribing corrupt politicians like Nancy Pelosi with insider trading secrets for decades now. They know a whole host of trading secrets that gives them an unfair advantage when picking stocks. But did you know that thanks to a little-known SEC database, guess what? We have access to those very secrets as well. We get to see what stocks these corporate CEOs are buying up in real time, and then we get to piggyback on their trades to gain the same advantage for ourselves that Pelosi and the crooks in D.C. have. My friend Ross Givens has been tracking insider trading for years, and his recommendations have led to investment returns of over 200%. Some have hit as high as nearly 1,500%. And now it's your turn. Click on that link below right now and learn how you too can learn to trade like Pelosi. Click on that link and learn how to gain an insider advantage for yourself today. One of the key themes of this channel is understanding the rise of what scholars call a multipolar world, a world that's characterized by a number of political and economic powers rather than just one dominated by the West. And one of the key dynamics shaping such multipolarity is the rise of what scholars call civilization states. Simply put, civilization states are worlds within the world. These are nations that are redrawing their boundaries around ancient civilizational spheres, such as that the basic organizing principle for the whole of society is culture rather than politics or economics. Linked to a civilization, the state has the paramount task of protecting a specific cultural tradition, and in each case, the goal is not world revolution or imperial world conquest, but rather staking out a particular sphere of civilizational self-containment, a full unification of a people's unique history, culture, and spiritual space. What's happening in our world is that more and more populations are intentionally moving away from the Western-dominated pole of power that's been the de facto world leader over the last few decades and realigning themselves around the multiple poles of civilizational power as represented by nations such as Russia, China, and India. So, for example, we've been seeing a dramatic turn by nations all over the continent of Africa away from the West and embracing instead Russia and China. Russia is their primary cultural and military alliance, and China is their primary economic alliance, China being the #1 trade partner of African nations. We saw this global realignment as well with the latest BRICS Economic Summit, the primary challenger to the G20, whose membership now comprises half the world's population and half the global GDP. When all is said and done, the real fallout from this Israeli-Hamas conflict looks like it'll be the full and total immersion of the Islamic world into this new multipolar alliance. For right or for wrong, the perception among the vast majority of the Islamic world is that Israel is merely a proxy for United States power and influence in the region of the Middle East. Israel is thus a symbol of a Western-led unipolar world that an increasingly civilizationalist multipolar order is challenging. The bombing of the Gaza hospital, again, regardless who actually did it, is obviously widely perceived within the Islamic world as an Israeli war crime, and thus would be seen as a key fixed point in history when virtually the whole of the Islamic world officially decoupled itself from the West and united itself fully with the multipolar East. What we're seeing today in the midst of the rubble in Gaza appears to be nothing less than a symbol of what's left of the unipolar world. Hey gang, I know what it's like to feel alone out there in these turbulent times, but I broke free. If you too have been looking for a community with like-minded patriots who are serious about resisting globalism, building a parallel economy, and having intelligent and deep fellowship on a regular basis, then you've come to the right place. In my Courageous Patriot Insiders community, we're building a close-knit movement of, by, and for patriots who are breaking free from the outrage and despair cycles of the mainstream media and taking on the fight against globalism. Every week, I deep dive into the content I can't share on big tech and give you the cliff notes on the truth of how patriots just like you are building up their communities, starting patriot businesses, and fighting the woke in both public and private. All with a few history and political lessons from yours truly, of course. If you want to stop feeling alone as a patriot and stand together with this fast-growing community, be sure to click on the link in the description below. Don't wait. Join me and my Patriot Coalition today, and let's get fighting.